ERMES Costello, a luscious 21-year-old Cleopatra lookalike who is actually a Mexican-American woman who hates crocodiles, and who became one of my favorite characters from part 6 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I mean, design-wise, she's definitely my favorite, with those braided locks of hers, as well as her surgically altered breasts that were modified so she could hide money from their sides. To be concise, I like the females in JoJo. They are mostly good-looking, stylish, and badass, and they seem more flamboyant versions of Vogue cover models. Joseph will beg to differ though. That's enough simping already, let's get down to business. The first time we see Hermes is at a prison cell in Florida, in which she ended up voluntarily in order to seek revenge for her sister Gloria Costello's killer, Sportsmax. She gets annoyed with Jolene's constant grievances and quickly demonstrates to be quite a rude woman, using curse words frequently, being violent, and having a short temper, leading to her often shouting in anger at people. Then Jolene discloses what's so bad that she continues to grumble and grumble, while a young male guard caught her masturbating in her cell. Hermes' reaction to that was to laugh. She's not always tough. She'll break the tension of the situation and unwind a little bit. While they're being transported to Dauphin Street Prison, our seasoned amateur smuggler Miss Costello fills in Jolene on why she's going to need money where they're being taken to buy her way out of troublesome situations. Ironically, she's the one who got physically assaulted by crooked cops because of some money she hid under her breasts. But she was eventually saved by Jolene's stand powers, stone free. After a long hiatus that spanned 17 whole chapters, we finally see Hermes again in chapter 21. Hermes had sold the very scarab-shaped golden pendant that jabbed Jolene and granted her stand abilities to Gwes, with whom Jolene had a confrontation in previous chapters. After being pricked by the fragment of the arrow inside of the pendant, Hermes' stand powers start to manifest, and what it does is it creates an exact duplicate of whatever object it happens to be placed on, and if Hermes peels the sticker off of the object, it will merge back together, dealing damage to it. There is no limit to how far the copy can be taken away from the object. It works in human body parts just as effectively, but the implications of doing so are not very good, because as I mentioned, when the sticker is removed, the duplicate limb will fuse back into one limb with great force, damaging it in the process. She had done this for the first time to create a nose apart from the one that Thunder McQueen trapped underwater by trying to drown himself. Hermes uses money as a medium, so when Thunder McQueen stole her money, she followed him after going to the infirmary 6 times with a fever. Upon meeting the cleaner, she learns that he has serious suicidal tendencies and that because of his own stand, Highway to Hell, he's able to share the ordeals of his suicide attempts with someone else. McQueen linked his death with Hermes, repeatedly trying to kill himself, although she saves his life several times. She even offered him her panties to cheer him up. He still found a way to kill himself though, but not before she split his skull using Kiss, incapacitating McQueen and nullifying his stand's hold on her. Hermes volunteered to join a search party with Jolene and 4 others to find 2 missing inmates. Each one would be wearing explosive bracelets that would go off if they distanced themselves more than 50 meters away from the guard. During their search, they stumbled upon Whitesnake's stash of isolated stand discs and Foo Fighters, and Jolene was confident that Hermes would do everything in her power to ensure Foo Fighters would not drag the unconscious guard away from Jolene, that it triggers the explosive bracelets, FF as it's called, swore allegiance to both Jolene as well as Hermes. A couple of days go by, and amidst a game of catch, a gloomy gambler chick named Mirashon turns up. She bet on a game of catch that Jolene and Foo Fighters couldn't relay the ball 100 times. Hermes persuaded Jolene to agree to the bet, which she easily won. Afterwards, Mirashon bet $1,000 that Jolene couldn't be able to do it again, and when Jolene refused, Hermes went in her place, with no hesitation whatsoever, which resulted in her losing a liver, her gold tooth, and the money hidden in her breast to Mirashon's stand, Marilyn Manson. But Jolene bet on being able to catch the ball 1,000 times in a row, which they got away from getting Hermes' liver and money back, and giving Mirashon a hell of a beating. Now, I'm gonna give you some context regarding Hermes' revenge story. As I said before, Hermes is at least partly of Mexican descent through her immigrant father. She spent her youth in Aslan, where her family ran a restaurant. Her mother is not mentioned though. Hermes' sister, Gloria, was 10 years older than her, and she inherited the family's restaurant at the age of 20 with no assistance from ERMES. 17 years old, ERMES' relationship with Gloria wasn't exactly great. Gloria wanted ERMES to help at the restaurant, but ERMES wished a sports scholarship and to go to college. One night, after another argument, ERMES ran into town, and unfortunately she was discovered by Sports Max, who had just killed someone. Sports Max was caught red-handed by Gloria, and in order to save ERMES, Gloria testifies to Max's murder, but is killed due to police negligence. ERMES lost her entire family and property. Sports Max was sentenced to up to 5 years in prison for lack of evidence, leading ERMES to repeatedly and wittingly committing armed robberies that landed her an 8-year sentence at Green Dolphin Street Prison, where Max is staying. Sports Max, the whole reason ERMES got herself into so much trouble by being imprisonated in the first place, appears on chapter 52 of part 6, performing his daily routine, and ERMES' determination to carry out her vengeance is conveyed through her narration of the events, standing next to him observing his every move, meticulously overseeing from whom he sells drugs to which jailer he bribes to sleep with prostitutes. It seemed like ERMES had her goal fulfilled when she drowned Sports Max inside of a sewage pipe, using her stand abilities. But he used his stand powers to make himself an invisible zombie, and he summoned many zombies from the grave to help him. Upon an uphill battle with Jolene, Cujo, and FF, whose had one leg bitten off by a zombie crocodile, ERMES defeated Sports Max, avenging her sister. Max's body was hit so hard that his stand disc was ejected, and without his stand, Limp Bizkit, to maintain his zombie state. Sports Max ceases to exist. Following the completion of this revenge story, ERMES needed to be put in intensive medical care, and she doesn't appear again until Jolene's escape from the Aquarian in chapter 102. From there, she meets Riccio, and during this fight, ERMES, expectating the confrontation between Jolene and Riccio, could not believe Jolene's determination to find Pucci, and she was nothing like the crybaby ERMES had known back in the prison cell in Florida. Once they're done with Riccio, they are attacked by another enemy, Versace, who's capable of digging up past events and trapping his targets within them. Versace used this ability to trap Jolene and ERMES inside of a fallen plane. The only way ERMES and Jolene could survive was by finding the seats of the passengers who survived the plane crash in the past. Of course, Versace wouldn't make things easy for them, so he pulled kids into the plane, placing them exactly in the safe seats, to see if Jolene and ERMES would sacrifice the kids to save themselves. ERMES saved herself as well as the kids by hiding in the body of survivors. Versace would later be killed accidentally by Anazui, who intended to hit Pucci, but was deceived by Whitesnake's illusory powers. The pair were soon influenced by Weather's powered stand, Heavy Weather, which was turning creatures into snails, including ERMES, and now they need to get Versace to remove Weather Report's memory disk to stop the snails. We know quite well that ERMES is Jolene's best friend, but what about Weather Report? I'm saying this because ERMES cries when Weather Report dies after fighting Pucci. They didn't interact with each other often, which means they grew very close off-screen. I'm starting to think Araki enjoys making ERMES suffer. Seriously, every time there's a struggle, ERMES is the first one to take the L, like losing a liver, being turned into a snail, falling parallel to the ground, colliding with flying debris, or getting her head split open. They soon reached Cape Canaveral, where Pucci had developed his stand, which gained the ability to redirect gravity. Pucci gave a hard time to Jolene and Anazui until ERMES and Jotaro came to the rescue. Jotaro tells ERMES to take advantage of Pucci's vulnerable moment by grabbing a firearm that Pucci dropped just moments after shooting Jolene to shoot him, which he did. Pucci was so busy deflecting the bullets that he couldn't see that Jotaro had thrown a harpoon at him during the span of his time-stopping ability, but he failed. Pucci's stand undergo one more evolution, Made in Heaven, which has the power to accelerate time itself. ERMES was pretty much flying by the seat of her pants alongside Jolene, Jotaro, and the others. They had to improvise every single move, while 1 hour went by every 2 minutes. In the end, Pucci kills Jotaro, ERMES, Anazui, and Jolene. Their lifeless bodies were left floating in the ocean, rotting away from Pucci's accelerated time. As Pucci activated his power before his death death led to a deadly paradox, since he was not at Cape Canaveral at the time of the prophecy, resetting the entire universe to a new one. Those who died in the previous universe received replacements in the new universe, as Jolene becomes Irene and Anazui becomes Anarchist. As for ERMES, her universe counterpart gets kicked off a bus for trying to pay with a $50 bill. ERMES was furious and wonders if the bus driver had mistaken her for a prisoner from the Aquarian. She then met with Emporio and asked him to change the bill. Later, she and Emporio met Anarchist and Irene, and they invited her to ride with them in exchange for ERMES' money for gas. At first, ERMES was skeptical when her sister told her not to ride with strangers, but the impending rain forced her to pay them for gas and ride with them. The team later picked up Weather Report's counterpart after filling the car's gas tank, and just like that, part 6 ends. I'd say it's quite a melancholic ending, being aware of the fact that everyone you knew is no longer the same people you grew to like. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and as always, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like in this video. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.